in the book of Hebrews, the author, we don't know who actually wrote it, but he compares the Old Covenant, that is the Old Testament law, to the New Covenant under Jesus. And in chapter 5 he makes an astounding claim that Jesus was like the high priest. In fact, he says he's a better high priest. So who was the high priest in the Old Covenant? Well, the Old Covenant, if you read through the Bible carefully, every sin had a sacrifice associated with it. There were animal sacrifices being offered all the time. There was one special day called the Day of Atonement, in which only one person, the high priest, went into the most holy place, the place that represented the presence of God. And he would first have to make a sacrifice to cleanse himself from sin, and then he would go in and make a sacrifice on behalf of the nation for every sin that might have been committed that hadn't been atoned for already. Now in the New Testament, the book of Hebrews says that Jesus is like that high priest. He presents a sacrifice to God, but he's a better high priest for a few different reasons. One is that his sacrifice is better than an animal sacrifice. The sacrifice is the divine Son of God. How many animals is that worth? It's unlimited. So Jesus' sacrifice is a better sacrifice. He's a better high priest because he never sinned. We're told that he was tempted and tested in every way just as we are, yet he remained without sin. Unlike the old high priest in the Old Covenant, Jesus did not have to offer a sacrifice for his own sins because there was no sin. And the third way in which Jesus is our high priest is that he makes intercession for us. And we see this pictured especially in the Garden of Gethsemane, where Jesus weeps and weeps and is heavily pressed by the burden laying before him. Well, we're also told in scriptures that Jesus makes intercession before the Father for every believer. And his prayers, because he's never sinned, because he is God, have to be a lot better than any human high priest. And so the book of Hebrews especially warns us against the traps of trying to go back to the old ways, to the old covenant. Some people think it's cool to call God Yahweh, because that's the name that's suggested in he was known by in the Old Testament. Some people think it's cool to celebrate the Old Testament feasts like Pentecost, Feast of Tabernacles and so on. Look, all of this is rubbish. There is a better covenant now. That is the covenant that Jesus opened with his own blood. I hope that adds to your understanding and that this is a blessing to you in your walk with Christ.